So how's it going? Rhino here, and I'm going to be doing yet another assignment in video form. I felt like this was a better one because there's a lot of questions being asked, and so the difference between this video and the last video that I did for an assignment is the last video I kind of scripted it more and thought about more what I was going to say in what order, and this is more of kind of a live reaction. I've already read the article, and I'm going to be going through the questions one by one, but it's more of a live reaction, so it's more just kind of expressing my thoughts versus actually organizing things and putting things out in a specific order to make things sound better, like I would in, say, an essay, versus just kind of like talking about my thoughts and stuff. So if I remember to, and I really hope I do, because I'm going to lose points if I don't, but I'm going to include the link to the article that I'm talking about in the description, as well as I'm going to try my best to include it in the post as well. But I'm going to mention the name of the article in a minute. Well, actually, so the name of the article is Eroticizing Men, Cultural Influences on Advertising and Male Objectification. Now, already off the bat, I mean, objectification is an issue where, like in the title, I disagree with this article already. How do I know? Because I disagree with the idea of objectification. We always objectify everyone in some way, shape, or form. Objectification is not harmful in any way, shape, or form, and it's just a part of how we perceive things. For example, have you ever thought of Albert Einstein? Do you think of him for his intelligence or anything else, the things he's discovered? Well, if so, you're objectifying him. You're thinking about one thing about him, and you're making that thing that's the thing you're focusing on, versus objectifying, say, women or men and focusing on their bodies. You're objectifying his mind, or you're objectifying his intelligence. You're making that thing the object of which you reference him and think about him. Objectification happens all around us. It's something I entirely disagree with as a harmful idea, and have never. I've listened to arguments for it, but they never make sense to me. They literally just never make sense to me. So the article talks about different things. It talks about different ways like advertisers target men differently now. It talks about gays, which a lot of what I'm going to be talking about has to do with gays, male gays and female gays. Talks about sexualization, which is another thing that I think is bullshit. It actually mentions in here that sexuality is socially constructed, which no, it's not. Sexuality is a part of our nature. It's part of biology. It's the reasons we have these biological cravings. I don't crave sex because I'm socially constructed to or socially trained to. I crave sex because of my desire to reproduce pushes me to crave sex. Now, the difference is my brain then is able to tell me, all right, so I crave this sex to reproduce, but I don't want to actually reproduce because then I'll have kids that I'll have to take care of, etc. So I want to be safe about it as well. So there are things that play into it other than just these biological cravings, but the biological cravings are a big part of it. So there's these questions that I'm going to answer in relation to this article. So the first question, looking at intersections of class, gender, education, ethnicity, cultural heritage, work experience, and the like in your own life, how does this better help you understand power and privilege? It doesn't. Power and privilege is an individual basis. There is no class or I don't even know a better term for it. But there is no systematic privilege that I get because of my gender or because I'm white. The privileges that I get are privileges related to the fact that I was born into a wealthy family. That's a privilege. I will fully acknowledge that privilege, and I do have power because of that. I will fully admit money gives power in a capitalistic society where meritocracy rules. Money wins. I will fully admit that. I have privilege in that sense. But the fact that I have male genitalia between my legs doesn't give me any power or privilege. In fact, because of the current social groups that are like feminism, etc., being a male, I am disadvantaged because I'm viewed as a privileged class when I'm not. And Christina Hoff Sommers is someone who talks on these topics a lot, that we live in a school system that literally benefits girls and females because of the way it is. It's linear versus modular, I think it is, or I can't remember the terminology for it. But the way that our schooling system is made and is I can't think of the word, and it is goes through like how our schooling system is. I'm just going to leave it at that. How our schooling system is beneficial towards girls because we've wanted to move it towards girls doing better in school, because originally girls had lower grades, and this had to do with the fact that yes, sexism used to exist. You can't point to the past and say sexism exists now. It used to exist, absolutely. Sexism, racism, all that shit existed, but a long time ago. It doesn't exist now on a collective basis. It exists on an individual basis, and so there is no power or privilege that I face because of I'd say because of my class, my wealthy class. I am privileged and I have power, but I don't believe that that's power and privilege I should give up. And I apologize if you can hear music in the background. My roommates are playing music really loudly, and it's going to fuck with the audio because my mic picks up everything, which is annoying, but yeah. So class, gender, I don't face any power privilege because of my gender. Education, yes. Getting a higher education, so the fact that I'm getting an accounting degree means I will face more privilege and power because I'll be in a higher class, I'll get a better job, etc., which will give me more power and privilege, which kind of relates back to the class that I was talking about. Ethnicity, no. Cultural heritage, no. Work experience, but that kind of ties in with education and class as well. And the like in your own life. Yeah, so that's it. Those are the ways that I understand privilege and power, and it's earned privilege and power. Not the way I was born into a wealthy family. I didn't earn that, but it's not something I should give up either. It's something that I get to enjoy because I happen to be born into a more wealthy family. But that doesn't mean that someone who isn't born into a wealthy family can't face can't get this privilege themselves. In fact, a lot of people who are born into a less well-off family do well for themselves. My dad, so I was born into a wealthy family. My dad wasn't. My dad made his own living and made his own life being wealthy, coming from a not underprivileged, but I would say just a like average family. Nothing privileged about it, and he made his own. What does it mean to gaze? I mean, you could look up the dictionary definition, which I actually want to do. No, not Gazette. Fuck you, Google. Don't correct my shit. Gaze, look steadily and intently, especially in admiration, surprise, or thought. That's the verb form. And then noun is a steady, intent look. That's what gaze is, which essentially is looking at someone or something for a specific reason. In my opinion. Who gazes and with what purpose? Everyone, and for different purposes. I will gaze at a billboard because the marketing team was smart and put something up there that catches my attention. I gaze at girls or women because I find them attractive. I will gaze at guys because there's something about them that sticks out. They have tattoos or crazy hair or something like that. I'll gaze at girls because they have tattoos or crazy hair. I'll gaze at cars because they look really sick. And the same thing would go for someone like my girlfriend. My girlfriend, who's a female, gazes at guys because they're attractive, gazes at girls because they're potentially attractive, and she kind of has that jealous side to her. She gazes at clothes because she thinks they look cute, stuff like that. I mean, you kind of get what I'm saying. Everyone gazes, and for pretty much an unlimited amount of purposes. Why is it important to consider gazes? It's not exactly. And this isn't a video that I've ever done on my channel, but I want to do a more in-depth video. Sorry for shaking the camera. I want to do a more in-depth video on gaze, because there is a difference between male and female gaze. I will fully admit that, and that's kind of what it's getting into. I mean, so this article mentions gaze 31 times, so you can understand that it's talking a lot about gaze. And I actually would recommend reading this. It is a good read, but a lot of it I disagree with pretty vehemently. But it's important to consider gazes because you need to understand that there's a difference between male and female gaze. These exist for a reason, and neither of them are harmful. You can't look at male gaze and say that male gaze is a problem, which some people in, like, specifically the feminist movement do. They say that male gaze is a problem, but female gaze isn't. But they don't understand why male gaze is not a problem, or why male gaze is as it is, why it has power, some power over women, why female gaze has some power over men, but why they differ. And it has to do with going back to biology and our different cravings for things. And I'm just going to explain this really quickly. Based on an evolutionary understanding of biology, a woman's goal to reproduce is to get the absolute best traits, or the best genes to carry forward through sexual reproduction. So that's why a girl, so a girl wants to attract the best. Attracting the most, sorry for bumping the mic, attracting the most amount of people will give her the more likelihood of being able to pick and choose the one with the best genes. So girls want to be attractive to the overwhelming majority, or the most people possible. Men, on the other hand, just have the goal of reproducing. We don't care if it's, on the evolutionary standpoint, we don't care. We just want to continue our gene pool. We want to reproduce. And actually, this is a behavior we've moved past, but we are more likely to be, men are more likely to not be tied down. We'll, like, want to reproduce and then move on and reproduce again. That's just the basic biological urges of ourselves, but it's something we've moved on from, so monogamy is a more common thing. And so because women want to be attractive to the most amount of people possible, they crave biologically to be the most attractive possible. And so they want to attract the male gaze. So the male gaze is stronger. But men, on the other hand, just need to be attractive enough. For example, me. I've never once craved being hot, or being the most attractive guy in the room, or just attracting every single girl in the world, or something like that. I've never craved that, because that would be overwhelming to me, and it's not something I want. What matters is that I'm attractive enough to one, be fit and healthy, which I'm not for health reasons that I can't control. But I'm skinny, I have a little bit of muscle, I can run for a while, like I have good stamina, and so I'm fit, and I that's attractive to girls. And then I keep myself clean. Like I shave every day. I keep my hair from growing too terribly long, but I don't go bald. And so I care about being attractive enough. I don't want to be repulsive, but enough. And so the female gaze to me is a lot weaker, versus someone like my girlfriend, where the male gaze is a lot stronger. This is a basic biological thing, and that's why the gazes are different, but it's not harmful. And it's not something you can cure either, unless you want to somehow reprogram our biology, which can't be done. All right, what do gazes tell us about cultures? Oh, shit. It absolutely tells us that cultures can be different. For example, men in our culture gaze at boobs a lot. And I'm not trying to be funny or immature about this. It's true. Like, it's literally, like, we literally gaze at boobs a lot. But in cultures in, say, Africa, where, like, tribal cultures, oftentimes the women go around topless. Their boobs are just out, and it's not something where where the guys gaze at them a lot. And so I guess in that case, there's more of a boob gaze, I guess, in male culture. I don't know. I don't really know how to describe that or answer that question. But in different cultures, there would be different advertisements that kind of, focus on different things and promote different things in different ways. So the fact that our advertising is leaning more towards male sexualization, that may not be the case in a different country, like, say, Japan or China. You never know. And so the cultural difference is there. On to the next question. That was kind of a weird question, though. How do clothed or naked figures affecting our... Wait. Wow. I can't read. How do clothed or naked figures affect our understanding of what images represent... Of what images are represented? Or how do clothed or naked figures affect our understanding of what images represent, maybe? I'm going to read it that way in what they represent. The difference is a naked person in any picture is almost guaranteed to represent something sexual versus a picture of someone just dressed in a suit, which would represent professionalism, power, intelligence, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of a weird way to ask that question. But, I mean, we are very sexual beings by nature. And so advertisers know this. That's why there's such a thing as sex appeal. And the term sex sells. I guarantee you've heard that's absolutely true if you've ever taken a marketing class. And so a lot of, I mean, I guess artists may be different, but for advertisers, clothed versus naked or mostly naked figures would represent what they're trying to target specifically, and what they're selling. It like actually selling versus sex sells, but they might be selling like an actual product, like Doritos or something like that. Last question. What do the art history canon and temporary art forms show us about the concept of the gaze, and what do we understand about it in today's art and cultural experiences? This is not, I'm not saying these questions are necessarily poorly worded. My brain has just been like fried today. I had an accounting assignment this morning that took every ounce of brain power that I have. So I'm just kind of like foggy right now. So when I'm reading this, it takes me a couple tries to get it in my head. What do the art history canon and contemporary, I can't read either, art forms show us about the concept of the gaze? Wouldn't it be just of gaze? I guess it could work. And what do we understand about it in today's art and cultural experiences? I don't really understand what this question is asking. Did I miss this in the article? It might be in a different article. Yeah, it's contemporary. Yeah, so I apologize. That must have been it must be in a different article. I don't remember that. Shit. But I mean, when it comes to gaze for an artist needs to understand how gaze will affect how their picture is portrayed. I mean, you have to understand that when a man versus a woman looks at a new painting or drawing or piece of art, I'll just say like artwork, they're going to look at it differently. Men and women just naturally look at things differently. It's how we are, and an artist needs to understand this. Whether it's canon or contemporary art, any artist needs to understand this, that we gaze at things differently and for different reasons. And I mean, I guess if you're trying to, I guess an artist would need to know this and understand this in order to really be able to hit home like a perfect piece of art if they're playing on our gaze. I mean, some pieces like the Mona Lisa doesn't play on our gaze at all in terms of sexual reproduction or jealousy or desire. It's just a really awesome piece of work, and it's historic and it's famous. But there are some that may play more on our gaze, that they would then need to understand both sides of the gaze. So maybe it would be pretty tough to include, but try to involve both the male and female gaze in a work of art, so that it's appealing to men and women, but in each individual ways. I don't know. It's kind of a weird question. Please include images, videos, links, and the like, as we did in week 3. I guess this counts as a video, but hold on. Oh, okay. So that was basically it. This article has a lot of very controversial things that are by no means fact in it, and that needs to be understood when reading this article. You know, sexuality is socially constructed. No, it's really not. I mean, the term sexuality absolutely is socially constructed, but hold on, but our actual sexuality is not. It's just a part of who we are, and you know, they're even like our sexuality, like my heterosexuality is absolutely just part of who I am. I was born heterosexual. That's just who I am. But there are people who are gay and they're born straight. It's part of their human nature. And there are actual biological reasons as to why people would be homosexual versus not. And that would be going into a whole different topic that I don't really want to go into. But when it boils down to it, these things are actually I wanted to where is it? There was one other thing that like kind of irked me. It was early on, where I remember that too. It had to do with choice. It had to do with choice. It had to do with the fact that essentially men have the choice now to be masculine or feminine, but women don't, which is utter bullshit, by the way. Men, I mean, anyone can be anything. You have the choice to be who you want, who you are, whatever, do what you want within reason. I mean, follow the laws, etc. And women have as much power and choice as men do. There is no difference there at all. In fact, some would argue that women have more power and choice than men in some categories. And this is just a part of our society. If you want to fight that, go ahead, but I mean, why fight that when we have the power of choice? That's freedom. Freedom is literally being able to choose what you want to do. Within reason. Within reason. Well, 22-minute video, Jesus. I apologize for the video being so long, and if you happen to stick around for the entire video, then good on you, but yeah. Thanks for watching.